Summer is the perfect time to refresh, refocus, and equip your worship team for the season ahead. For a limited time, we're offering a 20% off on all of our WTT workshops as part of our summer special. But that's not all. When you sign up today, we'll give you an extra 10% off just for hitting send on that email through our website. That's up to 30% in savings to invest in your team's growth, unity, and effectiveness in worship. Don't miss this opportunity to prepare your worship team. Secure your spot now so we can help inspire, create, and transform the leading of worship for your worship team. You know that exhilarating feeling during the service? But what about after? You know, that moment when you reflect on every detail, like the transitions, the song choices, how effectively you led, but then there's the dreaded, this happened, and then that over here happened, and oh man, this was terrible. Hey guys, let's close the door to the green room. Everybody come in. Man, I can't wait to bring you this message today because it's just been filling my heart. And what this is about after the service. Look, we all go through the very many doubts about, well, did I do this right? Or was this in check? Or maybe you can have the thoughts of, am I really fit to lead? Am I supposed to be doing what I'm doing here on Sunday? Am I fulfilling out my calling or role of what God has assigned me to? See, many of us go through that, and I think that it's only normal for us to have those thoughts. But here's the truth. Worship belongs to Him. And therefore, the success of the service does not rest on your shoulders, and neither do the mistakes. There's also an additional myriad of thoughts that swirl through our minds of, am I too old? Or am I too young? Or do I really have the skills to pull this off? Or if I didn't feel this way, why do I feel so bad? Hey guys, I just want to say welcome back to another episode of The Green Room here on the Worship Team Training Podcast. I'm Brandon Dempsey. And, you know, this hit me about 2 weeks ago. And it actually happened before I was leading worship. And I had the thought of, wow, can I really pull this off? And I just had this, well, sure you can in your mind, right? And you're like, well, you know the music and you know the chords and everything. And yeah, but on the inside, I kind of felt like, gee, what if they don't take me seriously? And that was the whole issue. I focused on that one little detail that we always put in there without realizing it, and it's the word me. What if they don't take me seriously? What if I don't do something right? What if things don't go over the way that I want them to? See, when we start shifting our focus to ourselves, then our focus shifts away easily from God. And therefore, our dependence is no longer upon Him, but it's on ourselves. So it's no wonder why we go back to the same old broken record of, well, why can't I do this? Or why do I always feel this way? Or man, can I do this? Can I do that? And you see what's happening? We fill in the blank with the I or the me, okay? When really it needs to be about the we as our team and Him who is our God. Because the more and more that we rely on our team, there is a trust factor that happens. Maybe is the reason why that you can't rely on your team is because you have a hard time letting go. Maybe there's an internal struggle with yourself. Maybe you think that there's some things about your team players that you wish weren't present, but yet, let me ask you, instead of pointing those things out in a negative way or wishing that they would do better, what's your end part of actually helping and teaching them? See, I think many of us as leaders have a real hard time of accepting the faults and fractures of others because we can't accept them for ourselves, or we don't know what to do about it, and we don't know how to rehabilitate, train, and teach it. That's very, very hard. And I know what I'm saying right now hurts, actually. It's not meant to, but this is the reality. But there's many different reasons of why we may feel bad after a service. Maybe it doesn't have anything to do with how we train our teams or how we encourage them and their imperfections. Maybe it could be a reflection of, let's say, your employer, which is your senior pastor or the staff or the church, or maybe a few years back further, maybe a few decades, maybe it could be a nagging parent. It could be another authority leader in your life that told you that you needed to measure up or that you don't measure up. And things like that said to us at such a young age can make a brutal impact years to come. I remember leading worship, and I began my years when I was like, I kind of grew up in and out of the church, and I've done music since I was like 10, 12 years old in the church. And then I started really doing a thing called song leading or leading worship. We didn't know what that was when I was like about 16, 17. I started out playing drums. I did guitar. I did vocals. I did keyboards. And, pretty much I got around to the church of knowing different styles of music and so forth. But I remember, because that was such a progression back in the churches that I grew up in, contemporary was not widely embraced, as you may remember that as well. And many people would come up to me saying, yeah, but Brandon, we like, you're a great guitar player, but are you sure? Because maybe God just wants piano. Maybe God just wants the choir to sing, and but what happens in those moments? These seeds of doubt start to be planted into the soil, and then they grow. And over time, it's like, well, man, maybe I'm not the greatest guitar player. Maybe I'm not, or I'm not the greatest guitar player, but maybe I'm not doing what God's called me to do with my guitar. Maybe I don't have a voice. Maybe, we put all these other thoughts in play. And I think, what is also damaging is when it comes down to worship leader, if it's man or woman, right? And there's a lot of women, great worship leaders, that have been told, hey, you know what, you're female and you shouldn't be leading worship, or you shouldn't be doing this or that. How crushing is that? It's just, I think, even more crushing than being told that, hey, maybe you shouldn't play guitar today. And the baggage that we carry is real. So don't think for a moment that just because maybe these things have not been said about you, that it lessens somebody else's pain or hurt. And I go deep, and I'm sorry, I know I'm going deep with you on this, but I'm trying to jump into these waters with you to let you help you understand that these are the realities of really what are the root of our insecurities that we don't like to talk about as worship leaders because we don't want to look at it. It's too ugly, or I'd rather do music and this is not my thing. And I get it. But see, those are the lies that I told myself for years and years and years and years. And then throughout that horrible negative journey of trying to tell myself that I'm somebody that I'm not, or whatever lie I was trying to disprove, inwardly, I just became sad. Inwardly, I was a mess. Inwardly, I was depressed. Yes, as a worship leader, as a worship pastor, because all these lies that were told by many different people in my life, I thought were coming true. But then who do we know that's actually feeding those lies? Well, it's the enemy, yes. But when you mix it together with the upbringing that you've had and other events in life that could be from various different experiences that were hurtful and painful, it just compounds the way that you feel, right? Before you lead a service or after. But there is a truth that we have. Who is that truth? The Lord Himself. And what fascinated me one day as I was reading, Psalms 30, 11 through 12 says this: You turned my wailing into dancing. You removed my sackcloth and clothed me with joy, that my heart may sing your praises and not be silent. Lord my God, I will praise you forever. And when we think about those words from David, This is a guy who faced turmoil and hardship and bitterness and anger and rejection. And among the other things that he was responsible for that he had done, his life was just not all golden road, was it? And yet, here he is, even in his sadness, he's still proclaiming God. But he's pointing the truth back to him because it's God who turned his wailing into dancing. It's God who removed the cloths of shame and the things that hindered him from having joy. God unlocked and broke those chains. And those are processes that happen over time. So you may be asking, okay, but Brandon, how do I get over the criticism and how to have confidence? Well, let's just say that when Psalm 30, 11 through 12 says, you turn my wailing into dancing, there's twofold to this. The word turned. You turned my wailing. I think it's a double meaning because of the fact that turn could be instant. Like instantly God just brought us this huge relief, this huge distraction, the hugeness of who he is and his words saying, hey, this is really what's more important. You have those instantaneous changes. But then turning can also be a process over time. That maybe I'm learning how to work through these insecurities, and maybe I'm not on top of the mountain yet, but I'm getting there, 1 foot at a time, one climb at a time. See, David understood shame and doubt all too well. He experienced the rawness of feeling exposed and inadequate, like what we do. Yet, here's the difference. He didn't dwell there. He did not remain in those sackcloths. So like us, we may feel it for the moment, but that doesn't mean that we have to stay there. Nor does it mean that we stay there underneath somebody else's comments or criticism. But when we talk about criticism, we have to think about the multiple ways that it's being applied, because there is some criticism that's constructive that can help us grow, while others are designed to tear us down. So let me just say that the longer that you stay in ministry or serving at your church or rotating on a team, whatever, you're going to have criticism. That's just part of it. That's what you sign up for when you enter in ministry. It's almost like any job, right? Or school that you become a part of, you're going to have criticism there also. So think back. How did you deal with those scenarios when you were in school or at a job or with a boss or a person that just didn't like what you did? How did you handle yourself? Because I really believe that there's some good nuggets that God can teach us to overcome that criticism, especially when it's in the realm of us leading worship. And then we're not later bombarded by the fact after the service of all of these thoughts that I'm having, these voices in my head of what they're saying and how bad I am. So I got 4 points for you and we'll wrap up. Number 1, separate the constructive criticism from destructive criticism. Ask yourself these questions. Is this coming from someone who wants the best for me? Another one, is there truth in what they're saying? Maybe I don't like the way it sounds, but is there a shred of truth to it? And then lastly, does this criticism push me toward growth, or does it make me feel small? Look, if it's constructive, use it as fuel to help you grow. If it's destructive, recognize that it says more about the critic than about you. Number 2, don't let it attach to your identity. What someone says about you is not who you are. You're more than one performance, one mistake, or one opinion. Criticism should never define you. It should refine you. I love that. Thirdly, respond, don't react. This is one of my favorites. When you're being criticized, even if you're criticizing yourself after the service, right, it works both ways. Our instinct is to often defeat, justify, or shut it down. Instead of that, maybe pause and ask yourself, is this worth responding to? Am I going to give my time and energy to someone or something that's just trying to tear me down? Maybe I should just have silence because that's the best response? Or will engaging help, or will it escalate the situation? Number 4, strengthen your inner voice and tune yourself to God. Criticism stings the most when it echoes something that we already fear about ourselves. But when you surround yourself with God's voice and what He's saying, then that criticism that says that you're not good enough begins to fade as you listen more to your inner voice of God telling you loudly to remind yourself who you really are in Christ. Maybe you're still learning, and that's okay. Maybe that's just one person's opinion, but that doesn't define your worth. Maybe I want to choose growth over perfection. See, when we say these things to ourselves, it alleviates that pressure before and after the service. Number 5, this is a bonus one. Keep perspective, okay? Most of the time, the people criticizing you, check this out, most of the time, people criticizing you are not the ones in the arena fighting for you because they believe in you. They're not the same people. Criticism will come, but it doesn't have to control you. So take what helps and then let go of what doesn't, and then keep moving forward. Here's the deal. God specializes in transformation, and He takes our uncertainties, our own criticism, as well as our mistakes and our burdens, and yet the things that people say to us that are just painful and unrightful, and He turns them into something more powerful, and that's joy. This is the very reason why David said that you turn my mourning into dancing. Because see, joy doesn't hinge on a perfect set list or flawless execution. It isn't muted by self-criticism either. It resonates loudly. So, how should this empower you? And how should you be able to trade doubt for joy? Remind yourself that God is our true purpose of worship, not our performance. It's about His presence, not about our perfectionism, ability to be perfect. When we refocus on Him, the questions of, did I do enough? Am I good enough? They begin to fade away. So just remind yourself of this, that through Christ, He makes us worthy. Therefore, we are worthy to lead worship because He is worthy of our praise. And after the service, there's no room for shame. There's no need to measure up. There's only a God who transforms our doubts into dancing and our fears into joyful song. That's how you can stand confident in that truth. Well, let's slowly open the doors back up again of the green room and let's head back out there, whether if it's going to your worship service, your rehearsal, or maybe driving home. Know this, that with Christ, you are truly able to have confidence over criticism. Guys, thanks for joining me here on another episode of The Green Room, and we'll see you back here next time on the Worship Team Training Podcast. Remember, it's not about being perfect, but about the Lord Jesus leading you both in life and in worship. See you next time. Bye. Hey guys, thanks again for listening to this podcast and downloading this episode. I want to invite you to get our free Worship Team Training devotional. These are the writings I put out on Bible.com, YouVersion, and we've had thousands upon thousands of both English and Spanish that listen, they download them. So we invite you to do the same. Just head on over to worshipteamtraining.com/enews or find the newsletter link on the top right corner of the website, worshipteamtraining.com. Thanks so much, and see you on the next episode.